Karz talks, where facts are opinions and opinions are facts. Vinyl wraps at one point used to be a really nice, cheap alternative to stylizing your car and just making it look better without spending a fortune for a high-end paint job. But now, vinyl wraps have turned nothing more into a bougie way of stylizing high-end cars for people with way too much money and they don't know what to do with it. And the entire industry is catered to people with too much money. What started off as an affordable way to make your car look different has turned into an extremely unaffordable way to waste your money. Full vinyl wraps just aren't worth it anymore. However, there's still a very, very affordable alternative we're going to talk about in this video. All right, so kicking things off here, vinyl wraps. I mean, they have exploded in popularity, okay, over I don't know, the last 10 years. They were like a viable replacement for paint. People were like, why am I going to spend all that money on a basic color painting my car if I can make it look like a giant rolling acid trip for far less? So that's what happened. You know, vinyl wraps, when they started taking off, you could get crazy colors, color shifting things. You couldn't really get paint like that. And if you did, it was an arm and a freaking leg. Vinyl wrap was one of your only ways of getting that look on a budget. However, since vinyl wraps have exploded in popularity, I mean, there's a vinyl wrap shop on every corner now. If someone went to attending before, they do vinyl wraps now. You can pretty much take your car anywhere now and get it vinyl wrapped. The problem with that is the more popular it got, the more expensive it became. And nowadays, it can cost just as much to vinyl wrap a car than it can to paint it. And that's a problem. I think a lot of that just comes down to saturation of the industry and people charging way too much. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. This kind of goes into what I'm trying to say there, you know, charging way too much. I'm not a professional vinyl wrapper, so I can't speak too much. However, there's some things I can point out here that just makes total sense. There's a lot of money being charged for no reason. So take a look at this. Look at this video here.
This here's the best sand chrome wrap that money can buy.
I think it's ugly. Work goes into that, ain't it? Heating and stretching and pulling and cutting. A lot going on. But the reason why I want to share this video is because have you taken notice, especially in the very beginning? I mean, it is a giant piece from the whole roll. What is that? Like a 5-foot roll? Usually how they come in 5 feet by whatever length. I mean, right there is probably, I don't know, that 15 feet at least of material. You know, they put it on the car. They don't do panel at a time. They just do the whole side and then cut out everything like a giant cookie cutter. The problem with that is, while it might be more efficient time-wise and a little bit easier because you don't have to, you know, guess all the size of material you need for each panel, it leaves so much waste. Look at all that material they cut out from the top, around the wheels. Look at all that. All that's wasted. Now, maybe they'll keep it and use it elsewhere, but otherwise, that's material they're paying for, they're not using, that you are ultimately paying for, that's not being used. And I think that's nuts. Am I wrong to think that way? Because to me, it just seems like an excessive amount of waste. When you think about how expensive a car wrap is nowadays, to me, that's like, well, no wonder. And more or less about that material, how much material does it actually take to wrap a vehicle? Well, a small vehicle will take about 50 to 75 feet. That's like a hatchback or, you know, maybe like a Miata, something small, right? Now, like most cars probably fall in the mid-size range, a Mustang, a Camaro, your sedans, your typical sedans usually will be somewhere around there. So they're going to be like 75 to 100 feet. Now I just want to cut in real quick because as I was editing this, something didn't seem right about that number. Like for a Mustang, I feel like it would be closer to 60 feet. So it's a little less. And I realized that 75 to 100 is a very generalized estimate. Keep that in mind. I'm still going to use the 75 to 100 as a reference through the video. Realistically, maybe it would be closer to 60. How much does 75 feet of vinyl wrap cost? Just material. Now, if we were going with a good material, we're going to go with a brand that's associated as such, 3M. Everyone, there's really hardly a downside of 3M. You want a good vinyl wrap that lasts long, 3M is one of your go-to brands. Well, let's see here. How much is a 75-foot roll? $793. Now, that price will range. It'll go up and down. It's material dependent. But this is 3M, and perhaps maybe shops can get it cheaper. Just from what I can research here, for 75 feet, material alone would be $793. Material only. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's see. It doesn't even go up past 75 feet. That's the biggest they sell this roll in. So let's say you wanted an additional 25 feet for that 100. That would put you at another $335, so $1,000 material. You've already exceeded the cost of a cheap Mako paint job. You can take your car to Mako and have it painted pretty easily, and basic colors for less than that. And a pretty good paint for that matter. Material isn't bad. It's the labor that it takes. That is where you're spending your money. $3,000 to $5,000 per vehicle. When vinyl wraps first started getting a little popular in the car, just in terms of changing the color, not like wrapping your vehicle to promote a business or a product or a service or something, because that's perfectly fine. And to be totally clear, this video isn't even talking about those kind of full body wraps. And they're not even talking about partial panel wraps, like a hood wrap, a roof wrap, a whatever, or accent wraps. This is full body wraps for color change purposes. That's what this video is about, because all the other ones make sense. But when these wraps started kind of really taking off in the automotive space, they were like starting, $1,000 or so. And at the time, it's like, yeah, I could get my car recolored in this crazy color shift or this crazy matte color or something that you're just not going to get the same finish with a cheap paint job for $1,000 installed. The argument was, why would you paint your car when you can wrap it? But now wraps have become so expensive. Depending on what you're trying to achieve, there may not be one single benefit to wrapping your car, especially if you were just trying to make it look better. Maybe you have some areas with faded paint, to kind of just get it back to looking how it was, especially if it's just like a normal gloss color like black. You might be better off just going and getting repaint it. And God forbid you had an SUV like a Tahoe Suburban Expedition, something of that size you want to wrap, you're going to be spending, $40, $100 or more. That's probably where you're looking at $5,000 plus. That is nuts. That's crazy. Now, here's the thing. If you use a quality wrap, right? You use a good wrap, you use a good installer, and they do a good job of installing the wrap. In theory, with proper care, a wrap should last at least 5 years, no problems. Now, they say really good wraps can last up to 10. Perhaps they can, maybe depending on how the car is kept. If it sits outside in the sun, if you're in an area where it's a lot of sun, like on the West Coast or in Florida, probably not getting that. If the car sits in a garage most of its time, and it only goes out for weekend drives or whatever, yeah, you probably get that 10 years, but that's unrealistic. Most people, these are daily drivers. They're out in the elements every single day, and they're probably not going to get nowhere near that. On the high end, realistically, 7, maybe 8 years out of a wrap, like a really good high quality wrap. How much can you get out of a cheap paint? How long will a cheap paint paint last? Once again, the common denominator is as long as it was applied correctly, a cheap paint will last just as long, if not longer. Now, going back to Mako, a cheap paint at Mako is still pretty damn cheap. Like, they've done a good job keeping prices low. So if you're looking just to get color back on your car, they can still do it for, around $1,000. Not bad at all. For a paint, as long as it was put on right and taken care of, should last 10 years. But what if you want to change the color something crazy? What if you just want something temporary? Well, that's why you go wrap your car. But then you're like, man, wraps are just too expensive now. I can't do it. I can't sit here and afford to wrap my car. It's just not possible. What do? How can I get this cool color shift effects? How can I make my car stand out and look different from the next person and not spend thousands and thousands of dollars to do it for something that's only going to last maybe 5 years? That's where these guys come in. Dip Your Car. These guys, I think they're really cool. I really appreciate their product and how they've managed to build their brand and focus it for car guys, car enthusiasts, people who want to style their cars and not spend a lot of money. And specifically, they are advocates for DIYers. They make stuff specifically for you to do it yourself. And I think that's awesome. Now, while I think they do offer or at least recommend places that can do it for you, they sell you everything you need to do it yourself. So for a quick comparison, this teal 3M wrap, if you decided you wanted to save money and wrap your car yourself, you're looking at $1,000 material to do it. Now, there's some other things. I mean, they're like, I know they make kits that have like all the knives and microfiber squeegee things and the gloves and all the things you're going to need. And usually you're going to need some form of heat. So you go get a heat gun. They're usually $20-$30 you can get to be able to do it. But even then, unless it is a smooth, straight panel, you're probably going to have the worst time trying to wrap your car yourself just to end up screwing up so much and wasting $1,000 worth of vinyl material. That would be soul crushing. That would really suck. Vinyl wrapping's not easy, especially modern cars. There's so many intricate bends and angles on different things. Nothing's really flat anymore. Trying to vinyl wrap when you don't really do it yourself is a problem. However, most people can generally figure out how to paint something and paint it well, make it look good. And painting, I think, is a far easier process for someone who doesn't know what they're doing than wrapping and, messing with vinyl, the stretching. You kind of know where to heat it to make it go over certain curves and angles, and you don't want to heat it too much. You don't want to stretch it too much because then it can mess with the color. And there's just so much involved with wraps. Something like this is a whole kit. This comes with everything you need to do it yourself. However many gallons of the color you need, pre-dip spray, microfiber, masking tapes, pre-wash, everything. Even can give you the sprayer itself, which is optional. So this price here is $754. Is including the sprayer, which is reusable. And once you have that sprayer, you can spray your car as many times as you want. You can go spray your neighbor's cars. You can start your own business from doing it this one time. And it's starting with the sprayer at $754. That's for a small car. Like they said, a medium car, Porsche 911, BMW 3 Series, Ford Mustang. This is where we're at, medium car, right? So we hit medium, $827. Whereas our wrap was over $1,000 for material. And this is at $827. So it's already cheaper. It's cheaper, and more than likely, the average DIYer will be able to do this and get a good result. These peelable paints, usually pretty easy to paint. Most people can figure it out pretty easy. And the way they lay and finish, as long as you do all the prep work as followed and everything, they tend to lay evenly and look good. They look damn near professional for DIY grade level stuff. And that's huge. That is huge, because if you want to paint your car, but you don't want a permanent solution, this is the way to go. And you're like, well, okay, we know Plasti Dip does not last that long. According to Dip Your Car, When properly applied, DYC products can easily last 5+ years or longer without being retouched. Keywords, retouched. You're getting the same longevity realistically because a vinyl wrap will probably last 5 years. This is going to last 5 years. The difference is this cost $800. You do it yourself. The vinyl wrap can cost $1,000 if you do it yourself. Most people can't. They're going to pay someone else to do it, and then it's going to cost you $3,000 to $4,000 to do it for the same result, for the same thing. Why would you do that? To me, that is why full body vinyl wraps are a joke. They're a waste of money. I think this is a superior product. I think this is a much better solution for a temporary color change or getting a color that you can't really get with normal paints. And considering the price, you get the look of a high-end vinyl wrap at less than the cost of a cheap Mako paint job. How can you lose? How can you lose? So anyway, yeah, I think that's kind of where it's going to wrap it up here for this video. Let me know what you think. Would you spend $4,000 wrapping your car, or would you rather spend $1,000 and do it yourself with something like this? Let me know. Put your thoughts in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up here for the video. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Share with everyone you know. You want to see more content like this and you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Keep a lookout for next Karz Talks video.